Good morning and welcome to the NBA Daily. Coming up, we had some crazy finishes in the playoffs over the weekend, and a bunch of teams are down 3-1. Some playoff hopes are dead. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, S.
Good morning. Good weekend of basketball.
Yeah. No Zena today. She took the day off. We'll just say congratulations, and that's it. We'll just leave it very vague for you guys. S, we had another great weekend of basketball. This playoff run for us has been awesome.
Absolutely.
With all of the hours and hours of basketball that we watched over the weekend, it's funny that we're going to spend all this time talking about 15 seconds from three games, because we had controversial / exciting finishes in multiple games. I happened to be in the building for the Clippers Nuggets game 4, and as I had a perfect angle. You know, the media seats, they like to put you on the corners, and and it's good for scouting because you don't have to turn your head when you're watching the game. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't have to move. I can see everything. I can see both, all four corners. It's very easy to see the action. And I was across from the spot where Jokic not only made the Sombor shuffle, with like whatever it was, 30 seconds left to tie the game up, but also had the perfect angle across from Jokic to see him miss the last shot perfectly and to see Aaron Gordon grab it. The initial reaction in the building was shock. Number one, the Intuit Dome is extremely loud. I don't know how that comes across on TV, but
no, it did sound loud. Yes.
Two nights, the two playoff games that I've attended there were just, it was amazing how loud the crowd was. And then it went dead silent when Aaron Gordon caught that ball and put it through. And we're all, on press row, we were running to the replay review, basically, right there on press row. And we're all watching, and we don't know the rule. And look, I coach the sport. I don't know the rule. I'm thinking to myself, well, it's through the cylinder. Maybe it's good. Turns out that his hand was also off the ball. So it was good. What an incredible turn of events, because that fourth quarter, the story there was the Clippers. The Nuggets were running out of gas. The Clippers fought back. Everyone looked incredible, and it felt like they had all the momentum. And then Aaron Gordon makes the play of a lifetime.
My goodness, man. If you think about it, at halftime, right before halftime, right, there was that fight. Okay. Yeah. Aaron Gordon, James Harden, and that comes back to bite the Clippers a little bit in the butt, because it ended up being Aaron Gordon who gets the game winner. And to me, I think about stuff like that when we're only talking about the final 15 seconds of the play, right? Final 15 seconds of the game, because there's so much more that can determine that outcome for you through the last 47 minutes. To your point, Jokic was incredible in that third quarter, basically carried the Nuggets to a massive lead. And then the Clippers answered back, just because the Nuggets ran one lineup for all of the third quarter, and they just got exhausted towards the end of the fourth. And that allowed the Clippers to come back. That'll actually be something similar to this Wolves-Lakers game.
The Lakers game,
But that's how the Clippers got themselves back in this game. And the Jokic stuff was just incredible all throughout. You saw him being aggressive as a scorer, the ability to, as Jokic does, get his teammates involved. I thought Christian Braun was great in this game. And the minute totals for these guys, like all of their starters played massive minutes, because that's what they needed with Westbrook out and injuries and not being able to trust rotations. The Nuggets pulled off a massive win, and they got pretty lucky with that Gordon shot.
Well, it's one of the best games I've ever seen from Christian Braun. Both sides of the ball, right? Like, he was making shots, but also defensively. There was a reason Harden was angry when he fouled him. It wasn't just that foul, which was hard, but I think Harden only had 6 points in the first half, and a lot of that was because Christian Braun was in his ribs. He was all over him. Also, MPJ, Michael Porter Jr., fantastic game, and especially when you consider he's
gritty,
pretty much playing with one arm.
My God.
We talk a lot about this guy's inconsistency, but, one of the things that David Adelman talked about pregame was just how tough Michael Porter Jr. is. I've never had any surgery, much less a back surgery, but it does seem like that guy has to go through a lot to play. And has a pretty serious shoulder issue. But huge game from him.
Dude, massive game. That same shoulder injury that he's playing through, I've watched both RJ Barrett and Jacoby Walter for the Raptors miss months because of that same injury. And he's playing through it. Like that is a testament to the amount of fight, what the playoffs mean. And I think it was just a massive, gritty performance. This man was shooting basically with one arm and made 4 threes and shot and ended up with 17 points, hit some massive shots. The broadcast, like Reggie Miller was talking about it the entire time. It's like, this man is shooting with one arm. How difficult it is to take the shots that he's taking without that one shoulder helping him out. It was an awesome, like, gritty performance from Denver. And now if you're looking forward to game 5, you've got home court advantage. It's a best of 3 series. And man, you wonder if the Clippers, like, that's it.
Oh,
right?
Well, if you're the Clippers,
we'll see.
Hey, if you're the Clippers, you're not feeling great, right? Because game 1 was yours. Yep. Game 4, you felt like you maybe had a chance at it. I mean,
100%.
Potentially like a sweep instead of, I think this is going 7.
Instead of ending up being a 7-game series.
It's going
exactly.
7. The Oklahoma City Thunder, by the way, had a great weekend. They closed out Memphis and we're, they closed them out pretty easily and basically get a week off waiting for the winner of this series. Let's talk Pistons Knicks before we get to the Lakers and Wolves. Again, another game that we're going to talk about the last play and the missed call, but really like the Knicks, they mounted a comeback in the fourth. And I would put the blame for the Pistons loss on coach JB Bickerstaff. I know we've given him a lot of credit for getting this team turned around, but the truth is, Tobias Harris picks up his 5th foul. And they make the decision to take him off of Karl-Anthony Towns. And Karl-Anthony Towns just abused Jalen Duren that final stretch. Cat had a huge close to this game, and so did Jalen Brunson after he came back from injury. But the final play, it's not a great look when the referees, in their 2-minute report. I mean, before
it wasn't even the 2-minute report. It was the pool report.
The pool report.
That's
Before Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns even get to the podium, we know that the refs are admitting to missing a call, which frankly, in my opinion, I'm glad, but that's not a foul call we want to see in the playoffs. That's the foul call that was supposed to have gone away when they said unnatural shooting motions matter, in this whole thing. But the refs admit to missing a call. The Knicks get a win. They're up 3-1. I don't know, man. What do you think about it?
Look, I you know me. The Pistons have been a very, very fun story to cover, right? And this sucks for Pistons fans all around because you could have been tied 2-2.
Right.
You could have taken back home court advantage. You could have been headed to a best of 3 series, right? That's the way you look at it from the Pistons fan perspective. And from that perspective, you should be livid at them missing that call because ultimately it completely changed the game. The result of the game could have changed. Tim Hardaway Jr., very good free throw shooter. He's knocking down at least one of those 3 3-point attempts that he could have made. So from that perspective, yes. The other thing is this game was insanely physical. I mean, it looked like a fight throughout the 48 minutes. And to call that foul would have been sort of out of place compared to all the non-calls that we saw throughout. I mean, there was a portion
even
of this where
in that play underneath the basket. Right. Yeah.
Yes,
there was a lot of contact. Yeah.
Tons of physicality. And we've been saying that throughout this postseason for basically every playoff series, but they're letting it fly, right? And I just don't think that made sense. That call would have made sense in that moment. But the officials kind of shoot themselves in the foot here by reporting on these things, right? You can't, it feels like a half measure to do the pool report, to do the last 2-minute report eventually when they come out with it. Because at the end of the day, like, what are you going to do? You're not going to give this win back to the Pistons. It's not going to, that's not how it's going to work. To me, it doesn't make sense process wise.
It erodes faith in the institution. Actually, right? What you're doing, and I understand there's this idea that being transparent means they're going to try to be better. But the truth is, I mean, personally, I didn't even feel like you missed the call. And if they would have just given the old marginal contact line that they've done dozens and dozens of times when they've actually missed a call, it wouldn't blow up in their face like this. That being said, the game was excellent. It's going to get lost because of this last play, but I think that the Knicks themselves showed a lot of grit. Jalen Brunson, again, playing hurt. That ankle clearly is going to bother him, I think, going into the next game. And then Karl-Anthony Towns just some of the shots, the shot making from Karl-Anthony Towns
absurd,
really won the game for the Knicks.
Yeah, that fourth quarter in general from Brunson and Towns was incredible. I mean, Brunson ended up with 15 points in that fourth quarter. Towns only ended up with 8, but those 8 points were massive. The huge 3-point shots, he hit 2 threes in that fourth that were huge. And then it was very similar to game 3, Cat, where he hit the turnaround baseline fadeaway. It was the exact same shot, but it was just more absurd. It was over way more contact. Yeah. And I just thought, like, this is why they have this two-headed monster offensively, that when the going gets tough, when it's extremely physical, when it is, hey, you have to get a bucket, Jalen Brunson can do that for you. He's the clutch player of the year. That's exactly what he's there for. And I think Karl-Anthony Towns, Cat, showed that he could do it too. It was exactly what the Knicks wanted, kind of confidence-wise, heading into round 2 of maybe. Maybe
eventually they'll figure out a way to use each other to get open. I mean, it would be amazing to see them play together. Let's talk Wolves-Lakers. The Wolves pick up a huge win. Anthony Edwards, before we get to the finish of this, I want to talk about Anthony Edwards, because this is, it's not a breakout for him, because we already knew that he was a big game player. But I mean, he's been the best player in this series. He puts up 43 points, has 9 rebounds, 6 assists. He plays both ways, right? Like, I mean, he makes defensive plays. To see him actually take over this game down the stretch for the Wolves and beat LeBron and Luka, I think that this is one of these things where, when it's all said and done, like, we'll probably talk about this playoff series as him sort of taking the torch. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. No, he is taking a leap right before our eyes. And Dave, you actually highlighted this a couple of weeks ago before the playoffs started, where you said Anthony Edwards is making a little bit of a playmaking leap. You can see that his decision-making is a little bit better. He's more decisive. He's learning how to leverage his pull-up shooting to be able to make openings for other teammates. And you see that in this series. Going back to game 3, he had some massive plays in that fourth quarter to really separate the Wolves. You think about that kick out pass to Naz Reid for the 3, just constant pull up shooting to be able to, really like leverage that as an isolation score to create shots for his teammates. In game 4, it was exactly the same thing. And to your point, he's also making plays on the defensive end. So not only is he locked in defensively, but he's making those reads. It's not like he's making complex reads like Luka Doncic or LeBron James, but just making the right play and also being this incredible scorer for the Wolves. You can see him leveling up, but also matching the exact same intensity, matching the level of what Luka can get to. And that, from a Wolves fan perspective, that's huge. That's bigger than anything you could have got from this series.
He's controlling the pace of the game, and that's what the great ones do. Right. It's what LeBron does. It's what Luka does. It's what Shea does. It's what Jokic does. Doesn't get sped up. And then the other thing is he has excellent footwork. You watch how he gets into some of these. It's like a jump stop and then a sidestep for the little mid range. That's something that he's added this year, and it's really hard to guard. I mean, he's one of the most unguardable guys one-on-one. The play of this game that you've likely seen over and over and over again required the Hawkeye view camera. They had to literally break out the NBA equivalent of a spy satellite to figure out that LeBron fouled Anthony Edwards on a drive late in the game. I mean, replays, it looked to me, hands part of the ball, wrist part of the hand. That's how, we grew up playing it. It's a foul by this spy satellite footage, and Ant goes to the free throw line, hits 2 free throws, and basically the Wolves get to hang on from there. I mean, again, I hate to see a game swung on this sort of level of pedantism. You know what I mean? Like, it's just,
Well, that's what people are going to talk about.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a fast sport. It's hard to call.
There are so many missed calls in NBA games. And I think that's actually something that you can look for with all the 3 games that we talked about today, right? Knicks, Pistons, Nuggets, Clippers, Lakers, Wolves. There are so many missed calls throughout that it's hard to look at the last 15 seconds and say, well, that is why we lost the game. Maybe Pistons fans can say that.
Right.
But for the most part, it's very hard to say that is why we lost that game. There's actually a reason I think the Lakers lost this game. They had a pretty massive lead. I think it was about 9 or 10 points in that fourth quarter. JJ Redick played one lineup for the final 24 minutes of this game. LeBron James rested for a total of a minute and a half in this game. Luka rested for 2 minutes in this game. Okay. That's right there. And by the way, they were a great lineup, Lakers small ball lineup. We've talked about it. The ability to create shots, all of that. Their offense was awesome, especially against the drop defense the Wolves were playing. Once the Wolves went to switch, different story. Lakers offense dried up. But also their shots started to come short.
They were dead.
They weren't rotating as well as they used to. And we've talked so much about how the Lakers defense is exhausting. Watching them is tiring. So like in the fourth quarter, when, everything is on the line, it's just they didn't have their legs under them. They were tired.
The craziest thing is LeBron, we get blocked by James from Mike Breen, right? He makes a great block on DiVincenzo.
Incredible play.
He makes 2 great strips on defense.
Huge defensive plays.
So he was still able to muster up the defensive energy. But look, Jared Vanderbilt and Gabe Vincent, I thought played pretty well in the first half, right? Like it didn't seem like they should have just not been out there. Especially
they could have
Vincent.
Played spot minutes at the very least. Yeah.
I'm lost by the idea of playing 5 guys 24 straight minutes. I've obviously never seen it before. Never happened before in the playoffs.
It's a must win. So I get it from that perspective. You're riding your best group. They've been one of the best 5-man lineups in the NBA since they added Luka Doncic. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you saw Luka getting blown by on rotations, and the rotations weren't crisp enough on the defensive side. And so that just opened up tons of opportunities for the Wolves offensively. At some point, you got to get these guys just spot minutes here and there, get Gabe in there, get Jared Vanderbilt in there just so they can get some rest. I think that is the reason you could look at from a Lakers perspective and say that's probably what ended up losing them this game.
Yeah. Guys, stick around after the break. I'm going to ask S if some of these 3-1 series are over or if we've got some comeback potential. Okay, guys, time for the game that's sweeping the nation. Is it over or not? Let's start with the series we just talked about. Pistons, Knicks, now 3-1, going back to New York. Is it over or not?
Yes, I think it is. And look, I just think going to MSG, the Knicks smell blood in a certain way. And this is just credit to the Pistons and how close they've gotten in this series. It's been incredible. But yeah, I would say it's over. Just because
smell blood because this series is very
it has been bloody. Yes, exactly.
Wolves Lakers. We talked about the heartbreaking loss there for the Lakers. 3-1 going back to Crypto, what do you think?
I actually don't think this one is over. I think LeBron, Luka, and those guys will end up winning at least one more game to bring it back to Minnesota, and then we'll see what happens.
And Minnesota gets it done in Game 6. I see where you're leaning there. The Bucks are now down 3-1 against the Pacers after losing last night. They also lost Damian Lillard. It's unconfirmed at the time that we're recording this, but it seems pretty apparent from the initial reporting that it's an Achilles injury for Dame. So no expectation that he's going to come back. And this is a series that, in my opinion, was already there was a little bit of a talent mismatch there, and obviously Dame wasn't even in Game 1. Because of the DVT diagnosis from earlier in the season. So the Bucks have kind of been up between a rock and a hard place as it is. They're now down 3-1. The Pacers look like they're just gaining momentum somehow. 100%. I mean, their role players look like they're playing even better. This one feels done to me. What about you?
Yes, it is done. But it's deflating to even talk about this just because it's such a bad way for this series to end, right?
Yeah.
Dame and what he's kind of had to go through with the blood clot situation, coming back and being able to, kind of play in the playoffs and try to be effective only for this to happen to him. You think about the injury history between Giannis and Dame over the last 3 seasons, and basically every season that him and Giannis have been together in Milwaukee, there has been an injury that stopped them from getting, really a consistent run going. So that's why this feels deflating. And now you look at the Bucks situation and it's like, it's not only over in this series, it might be over. Right. Yeah.
They don't own any of their picks. They owe swaps until like 2030. And frankly, like the window is shut. I mean, it's not it's not just that they're not good and they're going to be out of the playoffs this year. They have no path to a rebuild. I mean, they just don't have the assets, and you got to start thinking, and we're not going to do that today, but because we'll have plenty of time this summer, but you got to start thinking, when's that Giannis trade coming? I mean, it's just staring us right in the face, unfortunately.
It seems almost inevitable, but you're right. We're going to have a summer to be able to basically talk about all that.
Depending on what happens with the Nuggets over the course of the next week, I'm going to start the Giannis to Denver campaign if we start hearing the rumors of Giannis being on the move. Celtics.
It's going to be the Lakers somehow with Austin Reeves and a second round pick or something. I don't
know. It depends. Can Austin Reeves play a little bit better that he has the last couple games? We'll see. The Celtics are now up 3-1 on the Orlando Magic. The Celtics looking more human in this playoff run so far than they did last year, partially just because of injuries. You know, Jason Tatum's got the wrist. Jalen Brown had the knee. Now Drew Holiday's missed the last 2 games. They probably feel pretty lucky to leave Orlando up 3-1. You know, they lost game 3. Orlando has been mucking it up quite a bit, being very physical, and they're big, which is, you know, one of the things that you can use to your advantage against the Celtics. But, you know, 3-1 lead, it feels likely that, I mean, they're going to win the series. Do you think they close it out here in game 5?
I do. I do think they're going to close it out in game 5. I think Tatum had a masterclass in game 4, was just incredible. 37 points, 14 rebounds, 3 assists. Like, he was just surgical.
The way he closed the game, right? Like,
huge. It was massive. And by the way, like, the Celtics have gotten 2 massive games from their stars in this series. You think about Jalen Brown with his big game and now Tatum with this one. I think that's how you lean Celtics will be able to win this series. I will say from the Magic side, they've played it closer than you'd imagine. And I think part of that is Franz and Paolo playing better basketball. It's just you have to find more offensive weapons next to those guys. I know they're not fully healthy either. They're missing Jalen Suggs and Mo Wagner. But thinking into the offseason, find these guys some offensive help. Give these guys more weapons around them.
They need a lead dog. You know,
they need another guy.
It's similar but different to what Houston deals with. But they really need like a point guard who can stir the drink and get these guys going. Somebody that they can play off of a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't know who that is. And look, who knows who will end up becoming available this summer. I know there's going to be tons of names floated around, but Orlando should get in the mix because you look at how they're competing against Boston. It does feel like they're one of those types of players away from being really competitive.
And they've got some guys that they could move, like some young guys that they could maybe put together with some of their picks and bring some stuff in. Before we get out of here, our BetMGM pick of the day, Warriors-Rockets game 4. The Warriors win game 3 without Jimmy Butler, much to our shock. I was just completely floored by the fact that Houston did not pick up this win. Jimmy Butler is still questionable. We don't know if he's going to play or not, but man, I kind of feel like he's going to because Jimmy Butler just wants it more. How do you feel about Warriors-Rockets game 4?
I feel very, very good for the Warriors just because it feels like they've sort of figured out how they want to beat this team.
Steve Kerr coached his tail off in game 3.
Yes. Credit to Steve Kerr for rolling with Gary Payton II, especially in that fourth quarter. Opened up so many things. Nina has mentioned this, but just like the ability to occupy space, a guy who's a roller who can just do a bunch of different things for you. He fit in perfectly with that closing lineup. And then Steph having just like an incredible performance. The Rockets.
It's amazing to have a 6'3" point guard running pick and roll with a 6'2" center.
With the 6'2" center. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And look, the Rockets, the offense is an issue. We've talked about it all season. It showed up in game 3. They shot 40% from the field. Şengün basically didn't make a single shot around the basket other than one dunk that he had. So I think part of that is Draymond. I think the defensive masterclass that he put up in game 3. Looking into game 4, once they add Jimmy, that spells trouble for Houston for sure.
Take away Jalen Green, right? You take away his open looks and what he did against him in game 2, and all of a sudden now it's Amen Thompson and Fred VanVleet that you're depending on to make shots.
They need more from those guys.
That's not been good for Houston this year, right? Like, especially here in the playoffs. Like, those guys, I think Steve Kerr has basically bet on the right thing.
Yeah.
I don't think Fred VanVleet can beat the Warriors. I don't think Amen Thompson can beat the Warriors. Definitely not with a jump shot. And so if you just turn the water off for those other guys, it's a win. I think the Warriors pick up game 4. I think they go back to chase up 3-1. And man, I mean, it's looking like we're going to get Wolves Warriors in the next round.
That's going to be a really fun series. I mean, you think about Anthony Edwards, you think about Draymond, the defense of the Warriors versus the Wolves, Rudy Gobert versus Draymond. Forgot about that aspect. That's going to be wild. But
that's going to be a mess.
The Warriors and Wolves still have to close it out. I will say that's still
who do you got in game 4?
Like you said, Jimmy's coming back. I think they're going to handle this one. Warriors are going to win in game 4.
There you go. Well, that's going to do it for the show, folks. Again, playoffs, man, so much fun.
The best.
Yeah, having a great time. For Es Baraheni, I'm Dave DuFour, and this has been the NBA Daily. Thanks for waking up with us.